You're listening to the Road to Wisdom podcast, weaving stories told by wonderful minds about all things motherhood, health, intimacy, politics, nature, and everything in between.
Join us on an adventure discovering unique experiences that we can learn from to enhance the ways in which we live.
We are your hosts, Chloe
and Keshia.
Welcome to the Road to Wisdom podcast. We have a friend of mine in the studio today, Jade Robinson. This is going to be a little bit of it's a big story. It's a personal experience journey, but I think that sharing this type of story will land for a lot of people in many different ways, because there's some big things that have kind of transpired in this story, and I think that touching on them from this perspective will actually be super helpful.
We are going to be talking about reproductive health today, which is, I guess, the main theme of this conversation with you, Jade, who's had an incredible journey with reproductive health and, being told you're not going to have a baby and ultimately having a baby. So
welcome, darling.
Very exciting.
Yeah, it did turn out to be very, very exciting. Yeah.
Well, why don't we start from
the beginning
of your story where everything kind of took off, which we have to start there.
Yeah.
Because that's the beginning.
Best place to start at the start.
Best place to start. Hey guys, we're taking a pause from today's episode to tell you about block blue light. Now, I'm a massive fan of circadian rhythms and doing the best we can to block out artificial light. Block blue light have the ultimate globes to replace all LED downlights and any other lights that you might have in your house. This is a game changer, especially if you have children and you love sleep.
If you want more information about Block Blue Light, you can go back to our episode with Daniel Ebbett, who is the founder of Block Blue Light, and he takes us through circadian rhythms, how he was able to get rid of any of his symptoms and side effects of being in a bad light hygiene. But we are really, really excited to be able to offer our listeners
a discount at the checkout when you use Road to Wisdom.
We will link that in our show notes. Now, enjoy the rest of the show.
So in 2020, November 5th, I went for a walk at night and was grabbed and assaulted. He did try to rape me, and I did get away though, which I fought my ass off and got away and was picked up by a lovely lady in a car. And anyway, that's where we'll kind of leave that part of that story. And from then, it was just a huge amount of stress. So it wasn't just the night. It was everything after. It was dealing with the police, who were amazing, regarding DNA. It was the way I dealt with my stress, which ended up being to do with food. So I would restrict my eating, just not eat, and then have absolutely no energy. I would then purge. I just didn't treat myself very well at all. And it's just, I look back on who I was then, and I just feel incredibly sorry for everything that she went through, because I was in fight or flight mode for at least a year. Yeah.
After your experience and the sexual assault that took place, was there any, I guess, obviously not processing, but do you think that there could have been some kind of processing or some kind of support that you could have had and didn't, that could have prevented the ongoing trauma that you experienced?
I had so much help. My best friend's a psychologist. She got me in to see her partner, who is one of the best psychologists in Cairns. I was surrounded by love and friends, and it was myself that put my healing journey on hold, because I was just trying to be 100% okay, and all of my loved ones just wanted me to be okay. think about when something happens to one of your friends or your kids or your parents, you just want them to be okay. No matter what it is, you're just like, oh, but you're okay. So when people would be, you're okay, I'm like, yeah, I'm great. I'm fine. And I just lied to everybody and then in turn was lying to myself for about a year and a half, just flat out lying to myself. And then it took me going on a rewilding retreat. So you hang out in a tent and you go in a, bath in a stream, and it was the most incredible experience. And they were, doing this one part of the retreat where it was, what are you trying to be perfect at? And people were like, I'm trying to be the perfect partner. I'm trying to be the perfect mom. I'm trying to be the perfect best friend. I'm trying to be the perfect lawyer. And I just sat there, and it was an hour-long conversation between 30 plus women. And I was just like, I'm trying to be the perfect healed person. It's like just this horrible thing happened and I didn't allow myself to feel it. I was back at work a week later. I work with kids and teenagers. You can't take your problems to kids and teenagers. So I just absolutely faked it. I was at the Salt House bar for a birthday party like a week and a half afterwards. And when people would walk up to me and be like, oh, you're over the little mishap. And I'm like, yeah. And it's just because no one knew what had happened. And that's why I made the video. One of the reasons I made the video anyway was just to kind of share what happened, because I was sick of being
downplayed.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly. That's the perfect word.
And for anyone listening, that video is up on YouTube. We'll link to that because it is quite an intense story and gives a lot of context to what you went through. And it brought up a lot of themes around just like women's vulnerability as well for me. And I think a reality that people are trying to push down at the moment. Like in society, we're trying to say that men and women are equal, but your experience really highlights and demonstrates how much we are not, and how we actually need our girls to know that they can be outpowered.
Yeah.
This is the reality of the world that we live in. So I do actually highly recommend people to go and view that, because it's just a reality check, really. And you're like, it could have been you, it could be anyone. Like we have daughters, we have girlfriends. Like as women, we need to be aware that this happens, and it can happen so quickly. And
something did come out of it though, which, there's always a silver lining or a light at the end of the tunnel. And, he had lived in the area, and someone I know who also lives in the area had said he had witnessed the guy watching a teenage girl after school every day. And I'm like, I'm actually really, I wish it didn't happen. I wish it didn't happen to me. I wish it didn't happen to anybody, but I'm actually happy it happened to me. I'm an adult. I have more ability to deal with it than a girl who's at school. I tried to put myself, back in school Jade and imagine that happening. I'm like, I think I just would have ended it. I don't think you're not equipped.
You don't have those adult faculties to consider it or grapple it.
Yeah, exactly.
So after that kind of happened, I obviously know the story, so I know what happened. But I guess we want to talk about like the physical things that happened to you and the changes that happened to your body post assault.
I think it all started with just how I treated my body, which was not very well. I had a lot of it's funny. I had a lot of guilt around the entire thing, because I was like, why was I walking at night? Why am I that person that walks at night? Why was I wearing a pink shirt? Why did I put my headphones in? You idiot. It was 8 o'clock at night. What's wrong with you? So just that, even just how I was speaking to myself, for one thing. And then, how I was treating my body with lack of food and how I dealt with the stress. So when the stress would come on, I didn't want to worry anybody. So I'd be sitting at the dinner table with my partner and housemate and friends, and then I would just get this overwhelming feeling of I was just being smothered, just being smothered. And everyone around me was fine. Like nothing has triggered me. And then I would just walk downstairs, do what I needed to do, come back up. And it was just like the release. I was using it as a release. So it was almost like self-harm. I was in flight or fight mode a lot, to the point where if a cockroach, crawled on my foot and I screamed about it for half an hour, or I'm at dinner and my bag touched the back of my leg and I would just break down in tears. Someone hugged me from behind and I would just have an anxiety attack. Someone kissed my cheek and I would flip out. So it was just, you can probably imagine your body being in that constant state of stress. And then came the just terrible periods, absolutely horrendous periods, to the point where I was vomiting, diarrhea, in the fetal position on the bed. It felt like birth. Now that I have gone through birth, honestly, that pain is very similar. And I know I didn't want to call anything to do with birth pain, but there are parts of it that are quite painful. It's powerful and all that. So yeah, that was like within a month to 2 months, my first period. After that, the pain really started. Yeah.
And this is so fascinating for me, because like a lot of women don't have any answers for these types of symptoms, and it's often a big question mark and not something that we can backtrack or we do fully understand. And so how did you manage this, or like what was the story going forward? Like, did you have did you get a diagnosis or any help with all that?
Not straight away. It's, a little bit of a wait to even get in to see somebody. But before that, my other friend, Chloe, both very insightful Chloe's, said, could your, this sudden, terrible periods that you're having have anything to do with the attack? And I'm like, what are you talking about? She was also like a beetroot juicer and made muffins and like when we were like 15. So I'm like, she's just ahead of everything. I'm now just going to listen to everything she says and just do it. So she said that, but then, and it's really funny. So I had other symptoms as well, where I just, was in the gym and I couldn't deadlift anymore because I couldn't bend over. I could not bend forward. I'd be laying on the couch and I'd have to roll off onto the floor, onto all fours, and then slowly push myself up on my legs because my back was so bad. Just sudden, horrible back pain that I couldn't sit down in the car for too long. I had to constantly stretch. I went and saw a chiropractor, an osteo, acupuncturist, physio, and everyone was just like, don't really know what's wrong. And then Ashton, my partner, said, hey, is your like back flare-ups around the time your period happens? And I'm like, yes. Oh my God, how have I not picked up? How have you, a man, picked up on that? Like, anyway, thank goodness for him, because that just added another, I kept writing down all these symptoms going, this is not normal. And so my mum and my sister have endometriosis, and I just had thought, oh my gosh, I'm in my 30s. I don't have endo. Wow. And there were times when I was hearing my sister's stories of having 3 surgeries and her debilitating pain and, having to leave jobs because she was just, I feel so sorry for my sister. And I would actually say, oh, I wish I could take some of your pain. I wish I could have endometriosis for a little while. So, take it away from you. But, I, went to my GP and I just said, these are my symptoms, blah, 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 blah. My mum has endometriosis. My sister has endometriosis. I'd like to go see, this specific surgeon. And, the wait is, at that time, I think it was a couple of months before I could get in to see someone. And then it was, you know, every period you get, every time you bleed, it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse, to the point where it's, you know, I had to buy a whole new wardrobe for period because I would just bloat. I couldn't eat certain things anymore. I couldn't eat blueberries. They would bloat me. So yeah, it just got worse and worse and worse. And then went to see the doctor. She was wonderful. I had read up on her experience, had spoken to people she had helped, and yeah, really amazing surgeon. But her advice was wait until you're ready to have a baby to have the surgery, because your fertile time after surgery is about 3 months. So I did. I thought, okay, I'll just do what she says, not get it. And then I think I waited 6 months, and then it just got worse and worse and worse, to the point I had to have days off work. I run my own business, and I was also beginning to think I was absolutely insane because, yeah, and that's what you talk to other people who have endometriosis, and they are just like, you kind of made to believe that it could possibly all be in your head, or it's just normal. Bad period pain is normal. Just that. You have swelling, you have bloating. Oh, you're not that bloated. You're fine. The amount of people that were like, oh, you're not that bloated. I'm like, I have to wear whole different underwear because they cut in so much. I have a whole wardrobe. That's my period wardrobe. I'm like, that's not normal. That's not normal.
No.
Oh my gosh.
No.
So eventually when you got to the time for surgery, what was the chat about, like children and things like that?
Between Ashton and I?
Or like what was it? Was there a conversation about like, okay, because I know a lot of my friends who have endo have been told that, or they've been trying, and one of the reasons why they found out they had endo was because they were trying to conceive for so long, and then they were told they had endo. So was this kind of like a conversation that you were having at the time with your surgeon? Okay guys, we are interrupting this episode today for a quick little game of which phase of your cycle are you in. Keshia's going to guess what phase of the cycle I'm in.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell her if she's right or wrong.
Well, Chloe, you're looking absolutely glowing, so I would only assume that you're in your ovulatory phase.
Wrong. I'm in my follicular phase, which usually I'm not looking so glowy. But I have to say, my religious In Bloom skincare routine every morning just pumps me up. Like I give a little massage, put a little kakadu plum on. I'm actually addicted to hydrosol. So I swear to God, it can elevate you 100 times. So I love it. Can't live without it.
This is basically all I use on my face at the moment. It is so beautiful, and this is my skincare routine before filming one of these podcasts. So I love it. I'm so excited to be offering all our viewers 15% off when you use the Road to Wisdom at checkout. We will link and put our code in the show notes.
Not really. All of my conversations with my surgeon were just about like getting out of pain, wanting to get back to a normal life. And then obviously my fertility was important. And it's funny, I look back on and I'm like, if I hadn't waited, I wonder if my tubes would have become so blocked. You know, if I had just done the surgery straight away and then, you know, whatever, gone on the pill, got an IUD or whatever to like stop my period, then would my tubes have been that blocked and damaged? So it's always hindsight, because they push you to wait for surgery, which I get. Like surgeries, like even though they say, oh, it's just keyhole, you're rolled for like 2 weeks. It's not a fun experience. So, and unfortunately, surgery is one of the only ways to get diagnosed. There are some people. Yeah, sorry.
I'm just going to interrupt really quickly, because like endo, for those who don't really know, it's just it's adhesions like within your uterus and like within the structures, like fallopian tubes. It can move all the way through. And so the surgery that's involved with endo it's like a DNC more or less, and they go in and they try and scrape those adhesions out.
Yeah. So I actually saw photos of mine, which was really interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, she took photos, and it's really interesting. It looked like cigarette burns all over the bottom of my uterus. I don't know what I was doing then. I think I was burning with a cigarette. Sorry. Um, yeah, which was really, I got to see my diaphragm. I got to see my heart, like you can see through the diaphragm to your heart. It was pretty insane. But yeah, they were just all over the bottom of my uterus, which was, yeah, some people have it so that their bowels get tied together with scar tissue.
Wow.
And what the pain is, it's almost like she explained it like a scab that heals and then the skin pulls. So that's where some of the pain comes from as well.
Wow. So at this point, like, had you had the surgery and it had any relief for you?
Yeah, the surgery was massive. Yeah, so you're kind of told, or even just the research I did was if you have 4 cuts, you have endometriosis. If you have 3 cuts, you don't have endometriosis. So I'm laying in the hospital. I've just woken up, and straight away, the moment I'm coherent enough, I look at my stomach and I am like shattered because I only have 3 cuts. And the moment I'm able to, I call my sister and I just say, "Oh my God, I don't have endometriosis. What's wrong with me?" And she's like, "How many cuts do you have?" And I was like, 3. And she's like, "Where?" And I told her where. She's like, "What about your belly button?" Because they go in through your belly button as well. She's like, "That's your 4th cut." And I was like, the relief of knowing that I had 4 cuts, because they do the bottom one, I think, for the removal of the endometriosis. So that's why you have the 4th cut. The first 2 are just to like look around, and I think the belly button one is for the camera. So the 4th cut is the removal. That relief of knowing that I actually had endometriosis and I wasn't insane was phenomenal.
So good. So
crazy.
when did the conversation start about having kids with you and Ashton, and like the potential and all the possibilities and your decisions around that?
Pretty much straight away. We talked about having kids. It was just like almost primal for me, and I had never wanted kids. And yeah, just something about him, our relationship. I was like, "What the heck? I want your babies. This is nuts." So yeah, and then obviously you're together for a bit longer. Life takes over. You begin to go, "Do we have enough money to have a kid?" Our lives, you get in your head about it. So yeah, we got in our heads about it. So we, had said we want to start trying at the end of, I think it was, I'm not sure on the year, sorry. Start trying at the end of the year. And then we got to the end of the year and I'm like, "Are we going to start trying?" He's like, "I'm not ready. Are you ready?" And I'm like, I don't know. Anyway, so we constantly had conversations, back and forth conversations. We were going to be having children, just didn't know when. And then I had the surgery, and I'm so not glad, but I had a terrible reaction to the anesthetic where my blood pressure dropped. So I had to stay overnight. But that meant the surgeon could come visit me the next day. Otherwise, I would have to wait 2 weeks to learn anything about my surgery, whether or not my tubes were blocked or even if I had endometriosis, which 2 weeks sounds like a really long time to wait. So she came to see me the next day. She walked in, she sat on the bed and she said, "You have endometriosis." I immediately just started crying and just, it sounds silly, but I thanked her. Just, yeah. The knowledge was power. It made me feel more powerful and like, I got this, I'm going to do all the research. But then she took my hand and she did say, "Your tubes are completely blocked." So what they do is they inject dye and see if it comes out the other end. And she's like, "We put so much dye into you and nothing came out. So you will have to go down the route of IVF if you do want to conceive." And there was a lot to deal with at that point. Like, yeah. Even though we didn't want kids in that moment, being told you can't do it the way you want to be able to do it. It was pretty shattering.
Did they speak to you at all? Because like obviously your endometriosis symptoms came on like recently in this like the timeline of events. Did they speak to you at all about potential causes? Any like nothing?
They don't know anything. They don't know a lot. They honestly, endometriosis is one of the most under-researched issues, diseases out there. It's insane.
Well, it's interesting because we've spoken about this a little bit, and I know you and I have spoken about it, Jade, but that massive study with like 71,000 women or something who all were sexually assaulted had endometriosis. Like that's got to be some basis for like going forward in how this is potentially tested or managed.
There's not a drug that's going to come out of that. So therefore they're not going to put money into it.
In it. Like how do they fix this? It's just constant surgeries. And I just know there's so much suffering with women who have endo, and it just doesn't seem like you can get off it. Like it's just like you're on the path. Doesn't seem
you're
to
on
be
the train
any,
and it doesn't stop.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's any like way to get off it, which is devastating. But then in your situation, you obviously got that diagnosis. You were told that your tubes were completely blocked. There was zero chance of conceiving naturally, and IVF was your only option if you wanted to have a baby. And I think we were maybe visiting you guys actually when that might have been fresh, and remember talking about it, and I remember talking to you about it, and you were like, oh, I don't think IVF is really for me. I remember talking to you about it at Ashton's gym actually. What happened there with you guys making that decision?
Well, really lucky to have Ashton because it was my decision. Like I think he would have gone, through the IVF journey with me happily, but in the end it's the woman who does the needles, the hormones. And we went and had an appointment with a lady here in Cairns, and they ask you all the questions, and told her about my diagnosis of endometriosis and the blocked tubes, and she's like, no worries, come back in and we'll do an egg count. So you go in and they count how many eggs you have, see how fertile you are pretty much. And I left that feeling good because I had plenty of eggs, but it just I felt really ungrateful because we have this amazing, there's so many amazing IVF babies. I have IVF babies in my life and they just wouldn't be here. And I get a rebate from Medicare because I do have endometriosis and it's proven. So I'm just like, okay, I have this ability to, use this, but I don't want to, and I don't know why. And I, had many conversations with Ashton. We're just so upset. And I think I figured out I didn't want to do it because I just couldn't do any more stress. After the attack, there was, we went to court and he was pleading not guilty up until a week before court, and it looks like I was going to have to. The stress was just insane. I just couldn't deal with any loss or the thought of going through all the hormones, the time, the energy, the hope. I think it was like I couldn't deal with the hope and then it not working. And that might seem such a negative headspace to be in, but when I was already in such a negative headspace, it's like I couldn't deal with any more loss.
I think too, there's a lot to say about like this is your reproduction in your reproductive organs, and this is like sexual assault is assault on that, and it's assault on your body and your bodily autonomy, which we were just talking about actually. And when you're going through a process like IVF and that like you're having a lot of things done to you and you're in a very vulnerable position. And I think that there's not enough like grievance given to that position that you're in as a woman, having like being poked and being prodded and having to do things that are unnatural to and the conflict there would be very similar to to the position you were in years before. So I think there's a lot to say to that as well. And like when you say that you feel very ungrateful, I think actually no, you're just listening to your body and knowing what your capabilities are, and there's a trauma there that is very similar to what women experience going through hospitals and going through that system and medicalization of reproduction. So I wanted to put that out there because
thank you.
It's a huge thing, and I mean we hear it all the time, especially women in birth and feeling like they have been violated in those circumstances as well, and it bringing up all sorts of things. So thought I'd highlight that.
Yeah.
Well, and I also had the thinking of just like, maybe I just don't want it bad enough. Maybe I'm just not willing to put in the work or the effort. And I'm like, no, it's not that. It's just you wanted to be able to do it a certain way and you can't, and that's the only way you wanted to be able to do it. Yeah.
What about the journey of deciding that you weren't going to be parents?
That was hard because I did see kids with Ashton. 1 kid, 2 kids. I didn't, think specifics, but I just knew. You just know. I just knew there was going to be, and you're staring at me right now.
Bring him
I just
in.
knew.
If you need to grab him.
Yeah.
No, he's good. He's
like, she's there.
Yeah, just needed to check. Where was I? I just knew, and then to be told no, but then also I told myself no, because in the end it was my decision not to do IVF. Like I said, I'm grateful for Ashton. He didn't push it. He wanted kids, and he could have said, come on, why not? It's our only chance. Well, and I was just like, I just have a feeling I don't want to do it. I can't do it. Very grateful for his support. And then, what was I saying? My brain.
Your baby just entered the scene. You've turned off. I'm doing this.
Leaking.
No, you were just saying like, you ultimately made that decision for yourself. So the conflict of that.
Yeah, and just that decision and the conversations we had to have. I was like, we can just be the people who, save dogs. We can save dogs.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. we can just leave dog, I'm like, there's so many things we can do with our lives. We can travel more. We can, although you can't do that with kids, which was already done, but it's just, I just kept telling myself, I was like, we're going to live full lives. We are going to live full and fulfilled lives. And that's what I just kept saying to myself. I bought $2,000 worth of hiking gear. I love hiking, but I was like, I'm going to go on solo trips. Bought my Osprey backpack and hiking tent and sleeping pads and all of this stuff, and had booked a trip to Tasmania to do a 3-day solo hike to kind of just prove to myself that I could do things alone, hard things alone again. I was on a mission. And I remember having a conversation with Chloe, and I just said, I don't even want kids anymore. Like, I just don't even want it. Like, can't believe I ever did want them, just that. Just, I completely turned it off. And I have described it as I put any feeling about wanting to be a mum, especially in partnership with Ashton, in a box, filled it with concrete and put it to the bottom of the ocean. That's what I did. I didn't want to hold babies anymore. I found it hard being happy for people when they fell pregnant. Like, friends fell pregnant after I was told no babies. And I just remember, Ashton telling me about, sorry, just bring up a lot of emotion. Ashton told me about a friend's vows, and I just immediately started crying. But then, I was like, the happy tears. And he knew it was happy for them and sad for us. So yeah, it was shitty. It was shitty. And again, what I do is I just lied to myself and just said, that's okay. That's all good. Internalize it all. Shove it in the bottom of the ocean. It's fine.
Yeah, I remember talking to you about it. You're like, yeah, it's going to be great. Like, we'll just be like the auntie and uncles. Like, there's so many babies. Like, we can just be the support people, or we can just do this and we can help. We're just going to travel and like our life's going to be so great. And like,
I think you debriefed that conversation with me because you were like, nah, I'm calling bullshit. Like,
yeah, I was like,
she was like, I've got this friend and she's like gone through this.
This is
and
when
now
we
she's
recorded
trying
the
to tell
episode
me
with Holly, and I was like feeling so big for you. I was like, oh, I know the story. I know what's going on. I can read you like a book. Like, I know. I had that conversation with you in Cairns at the gym, and I was like, I just want to like, I don't know, you can't, but it's your story, it's your experience. But I was like looking at it from the perspective of like, this has been taken from you and you have to fill this void now, or you have to pretend like this is okay, or you have to pretend like
you're not allowed to be
sad, you're not allowed to be devastated, or you're not allowed to be like, well, you know, because I guess as well, like, sure, there's probably people who don't choose IVF, but there's a hell of a lot of people who are choosing IVF just because, and making it a very accessible, very normal experience. And when you said, I think there was a lot going on. I don't know if I think we had some other podcasts then, and we were talking a lot about it, or like it was really firing me up about like the default being IVF without giving much attention to the places that needed attention for women. And I remember you just being like, you know what, I don't want to do that. It doesn't feel right. And I was like, fuck yeah. Like, this is a shit situation for you. It's not ideal. It's breaking your heart. It's horrible. But you actually made a decision that was a really hard one to make. Where most people will just be like, well, I'm just going to do it because I want it. I want this.
Yeah.
But with also, little regard to
without really thinking
the consequences. Maybe not
but like
consequence.
Like the potential heartbreak that's involved, and like I guess just we've heard a lot of IVF stories. I'm going to be really careful with what I say here because I know how
it's such a tricky subject.
And it's loaded, but like I've listened to a lot of people's fertility journeys, and they've taken the route of IVF, and it is so filled with heartbreak and poor outcomes, and just to have the foresight to be like, I can't do that. Whereas I feel like a lot of people go into it listening to their medical providers who are like, this is your only chance, and they don't tell you what those actual chances are of it working. It's like, that's the only way you're going to get a baby, and they go into it like, okay, we're going to get a baby out of this, and that's not always the case.
Sometimes it just doesn't happen, and then you can sink 150 grand into it.
But like, 150 grand is like the financial aspect, but what about like the toll it takes on your life force, because you're going to like be forced into a pregnancy, not you, but like your body is forced into doing something that it's not ready for, because if it was, it would have happened, kind of thing. And I don't know. I feel like when we've said this on the podcast before, I do feel like anyone who has fallen pregnant using IVF is not infertile. Like you probably would have fallen pregnant without as well, but there's
so many journeys. So many journeys.
Well, it's a hard conversation to have, because it can be like, for the people who have chosen that path, it just is always going to sound insensitive, and it's always going to sound like uneducated to have the opinion.
It's such a hard journey to go through as well. So
I get the desire to have a child. Like, I get it.
Yes.
I get that. So, you know.
It's a calling.
It's a calling,
It's a calling.
If you get that taken from you, and you're not really given any other options or pathways, or you just don't really have the understanding of what is going on. Like, it's a massive industry. Like, the fertility industry is like crazy. It's like, you know, so there's that. And then there's just not understanding what's happening to our bodies. It's not understanding trauma. It's not understanding any of that. And it's just expecting we'll use this technology to insert a pregnancy into a body that is trying to say like, there's something here.
There's
There's something here.
Like
Can we talk about it first?
No one
before we
asks
have
the
baby?
question. No one asks the question, why?
Yeah.
Why am I not falling pregnant? Or why am I not holding on to pregnancies? Or why? Like they don't answer that question. And to then treat off the back of not knowing that, it just seems like, of course it's fraught with like disappointment and heartbreak, and anyway, a whole nother conversation there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And for myself, I can link to that phase of my life around all of the emotional stuff I was going through, you know. And then after we decided not to do it, like I said, booked some trips. I felt my life was at a kind of like a Y. Like I was like, okay, I'll do another course, I'll upskill for my business, and I'll do this and I'll do that. And I was like excited to do stuff because I was like, I just feel like I'm like, what do I do now? I'm like, I've got this, I've got a very full life. I was like, but I just feel.
You got to fill a void now.
Yeah, I'm like, there's just a slight hole. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. Okay, hike, bike, adventure, this, that. And then I just slowly started on the journey to feeling good. So I finally booked a consultation with a dietitian who deals with people with eating disorders, even though mine wasn't an eating disorder. It was a way I coped, which might be the same thing. I'm not sure. She helped me out a lot. I started just telling the truth when people were like, how you doing? Hey, what's new? I'm like, actually, I'm just shit. You know,
that's so
I
potent.
get off the floor last week. Oh, it was game changing when
telling
I just
the
started.
Truth to
and I didn't.
yourself, really, it's like we talk about this all the time, and just looking at it, reframing it from so many different stories. It's like what are you responsible for when the parts of your suffering is. What am I trying to say? Okay, backtrack. Your suffering is.
You need to be responsible for your own suffering, or take the responsibility.
Is wrong with my brain?
You've got a baby sucking it through your tit.
In the mirror, being able to look in the mirror and ask yourself, like,
where's my place
where is
and
my
role
place in my own suffering? It's not anywhere else. Even if something bad happened to you,
you got
if
there.
Something happened, I got there. Let me finish. Yeah, like you are always, it's going to always come back to you. And how are you going to fix your shit? Because your surgery won't, your surgeon can't, you're the professional white coat in the field can't, because they have really fucking no idea. And the person that's walking over there who might have a similar diagnosis, they don't know. They can't help you either. It's really getting honest and looking at yourself in the mirror and being like, what's here? Like, what is truly here? What am I going to do? What am I willing to do? There's a lot of people who aren't willing to do anything when it comes to helping themselves. And
you have to be uncomfortable.
And telling the truth is like what a bloody game changer. Because like, also, I mean, I listen to a lot of the Chris Williamson podcast, which is great, Modern Wisdom, little shout out. But he has spoken about telling the truth, not just to the people around you, but to yourself. And like, it's such a powerful thing. It can affect so many aspects of your life. And if you can like not just like be true to your word, like say you're going to do something and then follow through with it, but like when you can say exactly how something is, like our world is so in need of that because
honesty.
There's way too much bullshit out there.
And when I mean I told people, I didn't, the lady at Woolworths that was like, how are you going? I wasn't like, oh, I'm having a terrible day. But it was more, with Ashton and with my really close friends. And sometimes they didn't even ask me how I was. I would just say, hey, I'm struggling. Like, I've been struggling for a long time. I've been hiding it. I've been lying to myself. I've been lying to you. And it was just
exhale.
This weight just came off my shoulders. Along with the dietitian, working with my psychologist, just talking through coping mechanisms that weren't harming myself, just yeah, just being honest. I think that was the biggest game changer for me, was just acknowledging that what happened was horrible and it was life-changing, and I didn't have to be okay. Even after the retreat, I was like, I'm trying to be the perfect healed person. And then I just kept going on trying to be the perfect healed person. And, I spoke to my mum, because my mum, when I was younger, had that mentality of, and she would say it, you're feeling down, just smile. And I said to her, I was like, I kept doing that. And I'm sure you didn't drill that into us when we were kids, thinking that this was going to happen and that it would, almost have a negative effect, because that's true. Sometimes you wake up and you're just like, oh, I'm crap, and you smile, put some music on, you're like, oh, okay, I'm better. Yeah. And that's just what I did, just lied to myself. And the moment I stopped lying to myself, like I said, this weighted jacket that was just like pushing me down, and it was, just flew away.
Can I ask a question? And I don't expect you to be able to answer this, because I know if positions reversed, I definitely wouldn't be noticing these things. But when you did start like doing those practices and starting to release that weight, did you notice a change in your cycles?
That's hard, because I'd had surgery.
Okay. So that had positively affected.
Yeah, like pain. I could eat blueberries again. It's my favorite food. I said that, bloating and pain, I was back to normal.
Okay.
In a way.
Yeah.
But I suppose the most amazing thing to come out of what I believe, and again, this is my story. I'm not saying this is going to happen to everyone who's been told they can't have babies. Like, oh, just go on your healing journey and you'll have a baby. I spoke to Chloe about this before. I was like, I really don't want this to be, when I openly shared that I could not have kids naturally with some close friends and family, they would jump straight in and talk about their cousin's sister's friend who got the same diagnosis, and one of her tubes was blocked and she got pregnant. And it's just like, that is so nice, because we just want to fix everyone and help everyone. But when you're in it and you're told these stories, it's just like, well, that's not going to happen to me. Like, it's, I understand. I've done it. I'm sure I have done it. Yeah. Being the positive person trying to cheer someone up. But this was like a life altering, future altering thing. But once I did start my journey, and it was a conscious decision. It was like, stop the bullshit, Jade. Like, stop lying, stop hiding behind this smile and pretending that everything's okay, and sort it out. Because if you don't, what else is going to happen? Because at that point I had realized that for myself, it probably was the cause of my endometriosis. I wrote the saying down, genetics set the stage, environment plays the part. So we have all these genes in us. And I think what turned on mine was just the stress of the assault, and the whole year after that as well. But the jacket came off. I felt amazing again. I was smiling, I was laughing, I was happy, and none of it was fake. I didn't even have to be honest anymore, because I was just back to being lighter. Yeah, I think that's the way. I think that's what I'm trying to say, is I was honest and then didn't have anything to be honest about, because I didn't need to talk about it anymore, because it just disappeared. It went up in the sky. It was, and there was some of the most heavy days where I just couldn't get off the floor, like just couldn't get up, because if I did, I would have gone and done something horrible. Such a different place to be in.
Did your eating habits and everything like that change? Like, were you kinder to your body after that? And
so much. I worked on nourishment.
You listened to the podcast, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No, because she's still bloody vegan.
Hey, I am vegan for the animals. I love animals so much. I can't even kill a roach. I'm terrified of them. I can't kill them. I've got nothing to do with the environment or anything. I just love animals so much.
Love you though. Oh God.
Yeah.
Watch the onslaught of carnivore bloody podcasts come out now. You know, she didn't stop bringing them on until I started eating meat.
Yeah. I was like, we're going to talk about carnivore this week, babe. She's like, okay,
we're going to berate you some more about being plant-based, girl. Like, oh God.
I think the last time we were on
I've beaten it out of her. Yeah.
Where you were like, we're at your house and you like, you know, Brenton handed around some rock melon. I was like, oh, you guys eat fruit? What? You eat rock melon? What?
Yeah, girl.
I just love it. We're so different and we just take
the piss.
Take the mickey out of each other. Yeah, exactly. Everyone's on their own journey.
Yeah, so I'm still going to force it on you. You can be on your own journey, but look, I'm going to give you some I'm going to sneak some. No, I would never sneak something, but if you want a smoothie, I'm probably going to put a raw egg in it. Let's be honest.
Or some liver,
I do want to just go to the part of the story where I think this was around about the time when we'd released the episode with Holly Sinclair, and she made that connection of that study of endometriosis was linked to sexual assault or some type of trauma to that area, or perhaps even more. I actually never read the study in its entirety, but a little bit after that, we'd been speaking about it and you were really affirming your position on me and Ashton have had this biggest chat. We've just decided this is 100% our decision. We're stoked. We're this and that. And I was still just okay, I know that's a default decision. I love that for you, but I also feel this for you. And then that was that day. And then I think about a week later, Brenton was just spoke to Ashton, Jade's pregnant. I was hang on, I literally today, because it was a week later or something, that I must have listened to all the voice messages that we shared. Yeah. And I was oh my God, she's just sent me I better listen. And it was literally the decision of not having a baby. It's just not happening. We don't even want one anymore, blah, blah, blah. And I'm and I was how? What happened? And then Brenda was yeah, they just accident. I guess not. Accidentally, but whatever it was, there's a baby. And we had. Did you find out first, or did I find out?
I think you, because we called Brenton. Oh, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Anyway, we were pregnant as well. So
we were all pregnant.
We were all pregnant.
Yeah, everyone was pregnant.
I'm pretty sure most women were pregnant last year.
Yeah,
those listening to the podcast at least.
Yeah,
most women I know were pregnant last year.
You guys cast your spells.
We did.
Eat meat. Get pregnant.
I don't know how you got pregnant though. Honestly. But yeah. Anyway, I was just so stoked for you guys, and but first I was kind of just what and how and who, what, and stoked.
Actually, you sent me a voice message because we were on our way to Mission Beach in the car, and I was oh, Chloe sent me a message, and then she's are you okay? I've just listened to the other messages, and now you're pregnant.
Right. After you've just told me how happy you are, are you okay? Are you okay about this pregnancy?
Yeah, that was the whole feelings. You're in the bottom of the ocean, and just you got to go. You got to be happy with where you are. Because if I had just sat in the sorrow of the future I wanted not being able to be mine, I feel it just would have set me back all the work I had done. You know, think about how far I had come. So I really did just have to be okay, new life, new plan, gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
And then, being told you can't have kids. And then I woke up there was 2 nights where I just couldn't finish dinner, which I love dinner. I love food. Couldn't finish dinner because I just suddenly felt so sick. And I was something's up with my digestion. And I'm thinking, God, please don't be an endo back again. You know, and I, since the surgery, I'd been on and off pills. On a pill, it would make me crazy. Off a pill for a month. On another pill, I'd bleed for 5 weeks. Off that pill. So I was just trying to find a way to deal with my endo, because unfortunately, there's not a lot to help.
Apparently, pregnancy helps and birth.
Apparently, but there's no.
But then you
my
can't get
sister's had a baby, and she's had to have surgery since because her endo came back. I did look into, there's a study on NAC. I can't remember how to actually say it. And
N-acetylcysteine?
I did start taking that. Pardon?
Is it like
Yes.
N-acetylcysteine?
Yeah. I don't try to say those things.
I really
Especially now
wanted
I'm
to
at
just give it a
baby
go
mother.
because I feel like last episode we recorded, I was like, gonna chop it. Hey, I know this one. Let's go.
My brain works.
Give
Yeah,
me a
mine
moment.
doesn't.
Yeah.
So I did start taking that because I had been sent a bunch of articles on that, and that said it helped with pain. And I was like, I'm popping that pill, loving it, all good. And then a week before I found out I was pregnant, there was another study, and it came out with, has been shown to help women with infertility who are infertile due to endometriosis. And I was like, oh, wow, that's crazy. Anyway, so there's 2 nights where I can't finish dinner. And then I woke up one morning and I had my cup of tea, which I love every morning. And I was just like, whoa, yuck. What the heck? Ashton comes in and I'm just like, yuck, I feel so sick. Oh my God. Like, get ready to go to work. I'm trying to eat my food. I probably was eating oats as well.
Bad. You will die.
Yeah. So I'm trying to finish breakfast because I'm like, God, I have such a big day with my singers. What am I going to do? And then I'm like, see you later, drive 45 minutes, get to work early. So I'm like, I'm going to go to the chemist and just grab a pregnancy test. Because I'm like, this is a sickness I've never felt before. And then I take the pregnancy test at work, and straight away, it's like, you're pregnant. Straight away, I was like, I'm trying to find descriptive words for the panic I felt, because it was not excitement. It was pure, what? How is this possible? How? I called Ashton, bawling my eyes out, saying, sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh my God, I'm pregnant. He's like, what? What? What do you mean? I'm like, I'm pregnant. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. He's like, why are you sorry? We both did it. And I'm like, he's like, Jade, this is going to be amazing. And I'm like, is it? Because remember, I had created this whole other life for us, with the plans, and the stuff was at the bottom of the ocean. So I spent the whole day at the school just trying to come to terms with this new future that had been
like, hang on, I'm just going to go dive to the bottom of the ocean and somehow
deep dive, bring that shit home.
And I remember I got home, Ashton was home, and he was leaving, and we just like walked up to each other and cuddled each other, and we're like, I didn't know how to be. I was so confused because I was just, 100% happy and didn't want kids anymore. And then, I've actually got 2 photos. Ashton sent me a photo of his face after our phone call of me telling him, and he looked like, I looked at his eyes in the photo and I was like, it is going to be okay. This is going to be amazing. And my face was like, pure fear, just like crying. And it took me a solid day to bring up that box.
A
from
day's
the bottom
pretty
of the
good,
ocean.
I have to say, babe.
Yeah.
A day's pretty good.
But during that day, it was like, why did I only buy 1 pregnancy test? I need to take another 40. It can't be. This is not what we saw for our future. Anyway, it slowly sunk in and became the freaking best news ever. So yeah, and I called my parents, called Ashton's parents, and I didn't know, but so many people were heartbroken for me not being able to have a baby. And I didn't know that. People were like, oh, bugger. And, the moment I told people and they were crying, bawling their eyes out, crying, cuddling me, I'm like, whoa, you felt really big about this. I didn't know. And my dad just said, amazing things can happen when you're happy. And I was like, true. And I 100% believe that. It was the right time. Yeah, amazing things did happen to me because I put the work in, and it was my choice. And just the timing, everything to do with, divine timing. That's what I call him. And then he was here. And now he's here.
And he happened to be born in between. No. So
a day after.
A day after you, Keshia.
Yeah.
So me first, then Keshia, then you.
Our babies.
Yeah.
Wild.
So crazy. And now, like, can you honestly imagine the life that you thought you were going to have?
No. I look back and like, that would have felt empty.
Yeah.
And I did, as I was making the plans, I was just trying to feel, I was like, what's going to fulfill me? What's going to fulfill me? Okay, I'll do this course. Cool, I've learned all of this amazing stuff. Can't wait to take it back to my singers. Okay, cool, done that. Now what's next? Okay, I'm going to book that, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to become this person. I can't now. And I think that's a lot of people can't imagine. Once they're here, you're just like, where were you the whole time? Like, it's the.
Can I ask, Jade, when it came to the pregnancy and birth, did anything resurface in terms of your like sexual assault experience? Was there anything?
I've been so lucky. So during the assault, he did get my pants down and try to rape me. And I would think that would be the thing that would replay in your mind, that violation. But the thing that replayed in my mind was being grabbed, because he grabbed me around the shoulders. And there's a reason for that. I found out with my psychologist. It's like that's the drop. That's the part in your brain that just replays over and over again. So I've never actually felt any trauma around penis, vagina, pap smear or anything like that. I've never felt that. But my midwife was amazing, because I did have to go to the hospital and get a rape kit done and everything like that. That was all in the hospital files. So when I did meet with my amazing midwife, she said, hey, I've seen on your, hospital profile this has happened. Is there anything that we should be aware of during exams? Or she's like, I don't need to touch you anyway, but during birth, is there anything? There was always those questions. So I felt so respected, which was great.
Amazing.
But I had done a lot of work around the triggers as well, and I'm so glad I did, because during birth your partner, Ashton like rubbed my shoulders a lot, and before that was a huge trigger. Just the shoulders were, anything above the head was a massive trigger. So I'm really glad that I did that, because being triggered in birth, oh my gosh, I'm so happy I had done that work. Excuse me, can you stop? You want not? Just wants to flash my nipple to everyone.
It's all right. It's the story of my
Our
existence.
users are getting used to a bit of nip slip now.
Yeah.
We're just really normalizing the nip slip.
Heck yeah. Yeah. But now he's here, And I often think there's a few conversations I think about, and one of them is through voice message with Chloe, just, are you okay? Like, is this a good thing? Like, and I remember recording back like, yes, it's the best. It's just, yeah.
I just felt
it's
like
amazing.
how jarred it could have been, because it was such a whiplash moment. I had gone from hearing like, we are so happy and we do not want a child, to I'm pregnant. I just was like, ooh.
Yeah. And yeah, it did. It took me, like I said, a day to really, bring it all up, because, those first thoughts were not positive thoughts. They were like, what have I done? I've ruined my life that I've just created.
That I had to create because of the lack of this.
Yeah, I know. And now there's this.
The thing that I wanted that I couldn't have. This is ruining my life.
But it's just, you can imagine
Well, you have to
flip-flop of emotions.
You
like,
have to
you have to
you have to tell yourself things, and you have to like fill voids, and I think that's a big part of it. And you lock it up and you pretend that you don't have that there, but I think in all of us.
I think as women, like I think I'd like to sit there for a second because I think as women we tend to do this too. Like women in general seem to tell themselves stories to make situations okay because like we just have to keep tramping on and we just have to be okay and we've got other things to do and you don't want. I think a massive one is like the people pleasing of just not wanting the people around you to be upset for you. You're like trying to keep 100%. Everyone else happy even though it's happening to you. Yeah. And that's like it's so huge. I think that aspect of it because it happens. I feel like it's a reoccurring theme. Especially for mums. So watch yourself when you're a mum. But it's
I can only talk about it because I'm a woman, but I see so many, my mum, my sister, it's the people pleasing. It's the not wanting to make someone feel sad because you feel sad or someone's going through something. So like there were times I wasn't truthful with Ashton because he was a little bit stressed about something. So I just no, my day was fine. But really, it had been the most horrible day ever. And I was just, no, it was great. It was fine. It was a wonderful day. Thank you for asking. How's your day? Tell me about the problems. It's like putting other people's stuff above your own stuff, whether it was bigger stuff or littler stuff. It was just like in the end, everyone can share their stuff. And that's what I do now. And, I've given that advice to a girlfriend who has gone through something horrible, and I just said, be honest. I said, when someone you trust says, how are you? Don't lie, because if you lie, you're lying to yourself, and that will just fester and fester and fester, and then you'll become this toxic positive person, and that just doesn't do anything. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help anyone else. No one can get close to you.
I think that's when things start manifesting as physical symptoms in the body big time.
Exactly.
Obviously.
Endometriosis.
Yeah. And so something I did want to ask, because I feel like people would be really curious, is postpartum, I don't know if you've had like a postpartum period, or has your endo improved, or is it still problematic? What's happening there?
Haven't had a period yet, and I have gone back to my I can't remember what you call her.
I'm going
to say surgeon.
Endocrinologist?
Lady.
Is it?
Yeah, maybe.
Endos?
Yeah.
Like I know that's
making me sound like I can't say big words. I can, I promise.
We know you're intelligent.
You're 5 months postpartum. It's okay. None of us can say big words anymore.
I had trouble counting to 4 the other day because someone kept talking to me, and I was like, stop talking to me. I'm trying to count my avocados. I have gone back to see her, and I'm just like, what's the plan? What's our game plan? Because it's, and it's so I was on the pill from like 16 to, mid-20s, and then just felt a call to go off it. No idea why. I didn't want kids with my, that current partner, but it was just like, do not want to be on this anymore. Couldn't tell you why. It was just an urge, this feeling I had. And it's so unfortunate. The only thing you can do when you have endometriosis to stop your period is to get an IUD or get that implant in your arm or go on the pill. I did a course on like a mini course with a dietitian for endometriosis, and looked at the foods I should be eating and shouldn't be eating and what I should be including, and I'm pretty much doing everything in right for a more inflammatory diet, because endometriosis is a inflammatory disease. What you looking at? So I've been really on point on trying to do everything, but unfortunately, the only way to stop endo is to stop your period, because every time you bleed, that's when the cells leave. So I'm currently back on the pill, which sucks.
Yeah.
Which sucks. It doesn't feel right as someone who, I don't want it. I don't like taking Panadol. Hate taking Nurofen. But when my period was so bad, those days when I couldn't get up, the only thing that would help would be Nurofen, and I would be taking 8 a day. That is not recommended. But that is the only way I could function. And yeah, it was like every 4 to 6 hours you're supposed to take them. I'd be taking them in 3 hours because they would just wear off. That's how. Yeah. So yeah, back on the pill and just hoping more research, hoping they throw funding, which they are. Like now I think it was like 9 in 10 women. Now I think it's 7 in 10 women. Or some, the number is skyrocketing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But it's just sad that the only way to find out is to have a surgery. And it's just it's invasive, and it's just.
Is there anything else that causes that kind of pain and during?
Not that I'm aware of. Like,
I feel like those
and that's
symptoms
the thing,
alone should be a fairly good indicator without surgery.
Exactly.
Probably.
But then it's almost like I wanted to know for sure because otherwise I wouldn't have gone on the pill.
Yeah.
Or I wouldn't have tried an IUD. It's nice to have that concrete diagnosis of like, I have seen the endometriosis. It is there. When you have that official diagnosis, you can then make a game plan. But if you don't have an official diagnosis, you're just like, am I insane?
Yeah.
Is this, have I created this pain? Like, and yeah, I wouldn't have gone on a pill or tried anything else. I would have hunted for a new reason as to why. But yeah.
Well, it's an incredible story, and I'm so grateful that you could share it with us.
Yes.
Happy to.
I feel like there's a lot in this for our listeners. So thanks so much, Jade. If people want to find you, if you're sharing your story, how can they find you? Where? How? Give us links.
My phone number is
and I live at
yeah. Oh God. I suppose I don't know, Instagram. Jade with 6 E's.
We will link that up.
Yeah. Yeah, this has been awesome. Thank you so much. I think it's so important hearing other people's journeys. I sought out videos and interviews with people, when I was assaulted and how they dealt with it. And, when I did do my video around that, the amount of people that contacted me it was incredible. It was scary, actually, how many women have been violated and had never told anybody or hadn't told their current partner and were triggered when their current partner touched them in a certain way or and they're like, because you shared your story, I have told my partner that this happened to me 2 years ago and he wasn't aware. So, yeah, I think just sometimes being an oversharer is terrifying, but it's good.
Well, yeah, if it gives the opportunity for someone to be able to be honest, or not even just honest, but just like let go of some of that weight. We all know now that those keeping all of that stuff bottled in will manifest as something physical, like a disease. So yeah, the more we can unload, the better, I say.
Yeah.
Anyway, love.
Beautiful.
Looking forward to if you happen to have a whoopsie baby in the future.
the next whoopsie baby, maybe.
Yeah, I got to listen to that last podcast.
Oh my gosh, the fertility awareness method. All right.
Yeah, get on it.
Yeah, I really like the intro to that actually when you talked about how you're using her knowledge for your reasons of not wanting to have another whoopsie baby, but then it's still available for people who want to have a baby. I think 100%. That whatever you guys said in the beginning was just, I was like, love their work. Good job.
Works two ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
But being aware of our cycles is so important. And even your story is such a good example because I personally never linked my cycle to anything. If I was having like a big heavy bleed one month and then nothing the next month, I never like really tracked what I was doing that would cause that. And so just being aware of your cycle and that things that you do throughout the month are going to affect that, or big traumas are going to affect it. Like even COVID was affecting all of our cycle. You know, there's like so much in our fertility that is just such a information, like
it is.
What
it's
does it pull?
It's our way of knowing.
Yeah.
We've just got to pay attention to it a little bit better instead of just trying to like, you know, get rid of it.
And funnily enough though, because I've actually started doing one-on-one fertility awareness method training, and those, like when you're trying to learn how to conceive or not conceive, you really actually do need to get fully dial in and have like the greatest sense of awareness of not just like, you know, when your period's coming, or, you know, your app that tells you when it's literally like the awareness of every drop of cervical mucus, the food that you've eaten in the days leading up to, like, you know, what's happening in your life.
The exercise you've done.
Yeah,
too stress much, you're
too
under.
little.
Yeah.
Like,
how hydrated are you?
Honestly, there is just so many factors at play. You know, even the moon, and we haven't got there yet, but like there's a whole like metaphysical aspect to conceiving or not conceiving. And I think it's just, for so long women have just been like, you bleed, you don't bleed. Anything in between that is a fucking question mark. We have no idea. Hoping for the best, and it's a pain in the ass. And
you just want that part of not bleeding.
Yeah, you can't go swimming.
Yeah.
I remember, you know,
like tampons.
So, you know, as I think it's all just,
you know,
laughing. Dialing back in and really getting to know ourselves and figuring shit out for ourselves, because at the end of the day, nobody is going to figure it out. No one is figuring it out. Like we can throw, you know, money at endo or cancer for the foreseeable future and probably never get an outcome. But I think it's really just looking in the mirror and being like, okay, like let's just,
where can we take charge? Thank you for coming on again, Jade. It's been amazing. Bye-bye. And we look forward to hearing more news. Bye everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the Road to Wisdom podcast. To join the journey, you can follow us on Instagram at theroadtowisdom.podcast and at www.theroadtowisdompodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. We look forward to seeing you next week with more juicy content.